And so how does this all trickle down to Southland? So if we consider that upside down pyramid again, all of that legislation that is set at a top level, including the RMA and the changes that are made to it, has to be implemented by our local regional council. And so Environment Southland are responsible, and our local policymakers are responsible for implementing that national direction. And so what that means is that we have our Southland Water and Land Plan. Now, it is still technically a proposed water and land plan. This is the plan in Southland that manages any activity that has a potential impact on fresh water, but it also manages coastal activities as well. We have manages some activities that occur in and around coastal environments, but we do have separate plans for the coastal area. We have an air plan, and we have our policy instruments, our regional policy statements as well. So the one that is most important to those of us around the computer tonight is the proposed Southland Water and Land Plan. Now, this plan was first notified in 2016, almost 10 years ago, which I just about fall off my chair when I think about it, to be honest, because I've been working with a proposed plan for that long now. But it was made operative in 2018. And since 2018, we've been through many Environment Court hearings. We have some appeals that have been progressing on this plan, and we've had 9 interim decisions. I have no idea what the record is for interim decisions from an Environment Court judge, but I think we had 7, 8, and 9 in the space of about a fortnight, and many of us wanted to fall off our chair thinking about how many interim decisions were being made. But we are in a position now where I would almost call 95% of the plan complete and operative. And what I mean by that is that in May last year, our local regional council agreed to make the plan operative, which now means that the remaining or the appeals that were in place on a number of key rules, like winter grazing rules, farming rules, the Appendix N Farm Environmental Management Plan requirements, were all approved by local council and became operative from November, 6 months later. We do still have 3 appeals in place, which is why we still technically have to call it a proposed plan. And those appeals relate to sediment removal, incidental discharges, and groundwater allocation. There's a couple of really chunky topics in there that are being dragged through the courts at the moment. And I don't want to go into too much detail of the legislation and what's happening in High Court and Environment Court and the like. But if anyone's interested in what those appeals are, raise it as a question. We can potentially come back to it. But what Environment Southland have been doing is working through, of course, at a policy level, what the changes at a national level mean to Southland. And so we have a proposed water and land plan, soon to be very operative. Oh, sorry, there we go. Soon to be, 100% operative, we hope, in the very near future. That was set based on policy from 2016, 2018, and of course we've had a lot of legislative change since then. And so Environment Southland have to consider how any of this new legislation may impact that plan and make a proposed plan change in future. So what they are doing at the moment is I'm fortunate enough that I get to sit with Environment Southland once every 2 months and ask them many questions and ask them what they're up to. And so they've communicated through that consultants forum that we have with them that there's sort of 3 key areas that they're focusing on at the moment in terms of how this change in national direction will impact Southland. And so the 3 things that they are focusing on is enabling good management practice, including wetland creation. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But that's effectively Environment Southland saying that we know it's really hard to build a wetland in Southland. We're going to try and make it easier. They are still encouraging a focus on reducing contaminant losses, which has been a really key part of this current planning framework, a requirement to improve water quality where it is degraded. And so they're still encouraging this, but they're also waiting, learning, and seeking understanding and clarity from from government around what the national direction will be with regards to water quality. So it's a little bit of a moving beast, and we'll talk a little bit about the water quality plan change in the next couple of slides. But the other thing they're really focusing on is farm plans. They apply in Southland. They're going to continue to apply in Southland. And so they're really working with certified stakeholders and landowners to get the systems in place to be able to execute farm plans across the board in Southland. So I thought it would be worthwhile to include a bit of what's coming next with the water quality limit setting plan. You've probably all heard of Plan Change Tuatahi. So what we had is that proposed Southland Water and Land Plan, which introduced a number of new rules around land use activities in Southland, but it didn't set limits on water quality. That was always decided to be made a part of a plan change, a future plan change. And so the timeline for this plan change effectively started in 2016 when that first proposed when the land and water plan was notified. And subsequently through the years and pre-2020, we had a national policy statement for freshwater management. We had a tweak to that policy instrument in 2017. Something called the Southland Regional Forum was established, which enabled many stakeholders, council and community to engage together and understand what was valuable about our freshwater resources to Southland. And there's been a number of science reports that have contributed to that, and also a number of reports that have come from our regional forum. A huge concept of that process has been the concept of horora, which is a concept that is looking for healthy resilience and return to natural state for many of our waterways in Southland. And so there's been a lot of modelling that has gone into what is needed to achieve some of these water quality expectations. In 2020, we, of course, had a change to our national policy statement for freshwater again, an introduction of those national environmental standards. So that brought some new uncertainty. And ultimately, if we flip to the next one, Ayla, where we're at the moment is that Environment Southland have postponed when they intend to notify this plan change so that they can understand what that national direction is going to be and make any tweaks if need be. But I really wanted to highlight with these slides the number of years that we've been working towards having limits in Southland around water quality and emphasise how important they are going to be moving forward. And we can talk a little bit about this later with regards to farm plans or compliance if it comes up, if anyone has any questions around this limit setting process. But it has been delayed, but so much work by the community stakeholders and council has gone into it. We're not sure how much of that will change moving forward, but council have made a commitment to work with our with government on what that change in national direction might be.